I have a few questions too. Is it both elevators that have gone down? And
Yes.
when you say 3 or 4 times, in what time period is that, and how long are people waiting to?
They haven't both been down 3 or 4 times, but they, the two of them, and I don't have it memorized which one's north, but it has been both north and south. I don't even know which one's doing the most right now.
Okay.
The worst hit traffic we had was somebody that trapped in there for 2 hours. And we had to have actually ThyssenKrupp come to get them out because of the problem was that the elevator sensed that it was dropping too quickly. And when it does that, it puts on the brakes, right? And the only people that can release those brakes is an elevator certified technician. We can't just when there's, well, let's see what happens if we release the brake and boom, you don't want that to happen. So basically they had to have and we had to get the person out from the top of the elevator, which is never fun.
I would say if you've had that issue for 2 hours, you might want to get with Lynn and bring a resolution.
Yes,
forward.
Well, that's what kind of pushed me into asking for this today.
I don't want to be the guy in there for 2 hours.
No.
I was here last week, I think it was from Thursday, and Sheila was caught in the elevator for 10, almost 15 minutes.
and I was here last night at about 5 o'clock. For the most part, just the cleaning crew was in the building. I came in to get some paperwork. When I went down, I was pretty frightened. The elevator took me to 3 different floors. It was just sort of like in a glitch mode. And I just, I was on basement, I was going up and then back down. And I thought, oh no, I don't like this.
And that, I'll go along with what Heidi just said, because I've had that where I'm the only one in the elevator. I push 6 and all of a sudden it stops at 4. The door opens, there's nobody there. I'm like, the hell, get back, push 6, stops at 5. And I'm like, okay, push 6, finally get there.
All right, I'll bring it forward next
I
time.
want to bring something
See
forward.
what happens.
Yeah. Sure.
That's all I had.
Want to do your resolution while we're,
Yep, I'd be happy to do my resolution. PW10. PW10 is authorized the Cayuga County Buildings and Grounds Department to upgrade the fire alarm system in the historic post office and utilize it and authorize the chair of the legislature to enter into a contract for said upgrade.
I have a motion.
Move it.
Hans, can I have a second?
Second Facile for discussion.
Any discussion? Not all in favor?
I gotta just one. This was new coming out. I just saw this. So, and it says we're gonna use ARPA funds and I don't.
I'm not proposing to use ARPA funds. The originally you guys had approved with those 2 resolutions, ARPA funds in the amount of $225,000 to renovate that elevator over there that was installed in the 1940s.
Mhm.
And basically, at the time, I anticipated having to do some electrical work and some fire alarm work. What I didn't anticipate is that the current fire alarm could not handle the new code compliant. You're probably familiar with these codes. Compliant, the new codes that require the elevator to communicate with the fire alarm system. So the doors don't, you don't go down the elevator, push the button and it opens up the whole floor is engulfed in flames. This is designed to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah, so basically what I'm proposing to do, each year, Lynn and I, when we do the budget some money for these types of surprises. This is a little bit of a large surprise because it's about, I think I'm $23,000 short. But I do have money in the budget that I'm proposing to transfer. My problem is I can't transfer that amount of money without this resolution. So I'm not asking for more money. I'm just asking to allow me to transfer the money so that I can make this happen when the time comes, which is hopefully October, when we're going to get to that elevator part and start the upgrade.
Okay, so the ARPA portion of it is pre-approved.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, you guys have already approved the ARPA funding in the amount of 225.
Yep.
When I asked for the funding, I thought that would be enough, and it would have been if all we had to do was update the alarm system, but we have to replace the alarm system, and that's costing more.
understood.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if nobody else, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you, Gary.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Gary. I sent you that name.
Doug?
Good evening, everyone. There's a rather extensive report in there. I take any questions on it after making a few notes. We did have the opposite of July 3rd fireworks. Obviously, I need to thank the Sheriff's Department, the Emergency Management Office, all of our local fire departments that are involved, the highway department, state police. It's a big effort for them. We filled parking to capacity. We had parking all the way up through Auburn High School and every other road coming into the property. So, it was a very large crowd. The weather was very iffy and actually a little dangerous south of where we were. Nothing actually happened at the park where we were, so we were very fortunate. But the team that was there was really great about monitoring that all the way till the time. So Sheriff and I spent some quality time together that afternoon and the days before, so I really appreciate the assistance there. It's a huge event for us. It's a really big deal, and it was a great event that evening. So we always appreciate the support from everybody. The summer concert series kicked off last week. We had about 1,200 people there. We filled a good portion of our parking there, and that obviously is ongoing with addition to the theater and the Little League and the other events that are going on. So it's good to see the park back to what I would say is pre-pandemic, maybe even greater usage. So it's great. And construction continues up in Sterling. There are walls on the facility now. If you're following that, there have been a lot of posts on social media, both on Facebook and Instagram. Jim D'Angelo, our director, has been really great about doing at least weekly postings about the construction that's going on up there. That seems to be going along quite well right now. So fingers crossed we won't run into anything else and we keep on trucking. So any questions?
Like anything for Doug? I do, I guess. I assume we're still at 0 for finding lifeguards.
Correct.
Open it up. Okay. I don't remember from last month's discussion, what was the pay on that?
We're at $18. The state's at 20. We could go to that next year. We're going to do some recruiting that involves training on the front end next year. It actually included in their time, if you will, for training. Although I will say a rather interesting happened on July 2nd. There was a post put out by New York State Parks that for the first time in 30 years that I've probably been aware of it, they went to swim at your own risk at all of the state park properties in the Adirondacks and the Hudson Valley where they had campgrounds. It's a relatively unprecedented change from the state level, since generally speaking, they've been the ones that have handed down to our health departments and organizations that do our certification to the beaches that you have to have a beach, it has to be this size, over that size. It dictates how many lifeguards you have to have. So it's a pretty large change, I think, is indicative of the shortage of staff.
Are we gonna be able to do that?
That would be a question for the county attorney.
I have not looked into that. I can though.
Well, the reason I ask this is because, I mean, my daughter's home from college till the middle of August. She's not certified as a lifeguard, but she's teaching swimming at the rec center, Cato School. And they're paying those kids $20 an hour. So I just thought, I mean, it's a dog eat dog world.
Sure.
Next year, if you can steal some of them kind of kids from those programs, I mean. But if the state does what they did, what you're talking, then we can get away with doing it. That might be our other only alternative.
It's a big change. It's a very, very large change.
It seems to be that because sports go year round now too, the kids, when my daughter was in school, the swim team didn't swim in the summertime. They didn't go to the Y, they were all lifeguards.
Yeah.
Now they swim year round.
All right, want to do your resolutions?
Sure. PW6 is a resolution to accept a grant for public funding for all our programming this summer. So we applied to the Emerson Foundation for a $40,000 grant to support not only the fireworks that they have supported very graciously in the past, but also our concert series and programming going throughout the rest of the year.
Motion for PW6.
Okay.
Trish, can I have a second?
Second.
And any discussion?
I guess,
No.
just to, sure, I mean, you have, but thanking the Emerson Foundation, they're so supportive of art and all this overall. So appreciate it.
It's in the second whereas, I believe.
Yeah.
Great. In the resolution too. Thanks.
All in favor?
Bye.
Any opposed? All right, PW7, Doug.
PW7 is authorizing an addendum to our current contract with Civic Plus to provide Civic Rec, which is facility reservation services for the Parks and Trails Department.
Can I have a motion? I have a second.
Second, Basile.
Any discussion on that?
A quick question, it sounds like you have something in place now that's not supported or isn't the best solution.
It's a locally held database program that is from the late 90s.
Great, I'm glad you put something in
It's got a lot of
place.
miles. It's got a lot of miles on it.
Okay, great, thanks.
All right, all in favor of PW seven?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, PW eight.
PW8 is the authorizes to enter into a contract with Fisher Associates for design services for the New York State DOT. When we made the move for the boat slips this year at the park, we established a temporary road for that location in order to make that a permanent road and have it marked officially on DOT regulations. They require some specific engineering documentations for their inside of their right of way, which wasn't a part of the original scope. We only did a concept drawing for that area for further development in the future. So in order to make our temporary road a permanent road, we need some DOT spec drawings provided to them.
So basically, we have to do this. Motion for number eight.
Move it, Basile.
Second.
Second.
Trish, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Any opposed? All right. PW nine.
PW9 is authorizing an amendment to the agreement with the Friends of Emerson Park with the county to solicit sponsorships.
Motion for number nine.
Second, Basile.
Bazil. Any discussion on this? Not all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Lively group. All right. Anything else, Doug?
I know, that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Liven us up, Ryan.
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get you too excited, I guess. The only thing I'd like to add is to my report is next month, I'm gonna bring a resolution forward. I'm working with HR currently to create a new position for a seasonal MEO. Hopefully that'll cure some of our problems this winter that we're gonna have because we're 9 guys short right now. And the applications aren't flooding in. But I've been working with our vendors for their drivers that usually go on layoff for the winter. And some of them, I've got 5 or 6 guys that are interested in coming to work as part-time. So we have to create a new position. We don't have one currently. So just keep your heads up on that. That'll be next month.
All right, you got anything else you want to tell us about?
You want to talk about your guardrail? Did you get that fixed?
Oh, it's there. Not how I want it, but it's there.
No, that's all I have to add.
Safety initiative, you know.
Brian, I just want to say thanks to a couple of your supervisors. There was a complaint down my way. I asked them, they happened to be in the area, asked them to go over and take a look at it. And lo and behold, it got passed and fixed and
Dresserville Road.
yes, sir. Thank you for that.
I do have a question for you though, since you brought up the guide rail. I got schooled yesterday from the guy. It's called guide rail. It's not a guardrail. It guides you back into the road.
Yeah.
So anyways,
Schematics.
why after, I don't know, decades? I mean, that one on 176 been there since I was a kid, if not before.
Outlived its usefulness.
No, there's nothing wrong with it, but my point is, why do we make them 50 foot longer than what they used to be? Is it all of a sudden a 50 foot longer dangerous spot 5 decades
Honest with
later?
you, it's interesting because that guide rail that they took down, they took back to their yard and they'll resell to us as used guide rail. And it's good enough for us to use, so I'm not really sure why they have to take it down in the first place.
Well, it was in a safety initiative. We had money left over from something else. Our governor created a safety initiative
176 State Route 34.
rather than give us back tax money. So,
They did a lot of it.
oh, I know they did a ton of it, but I don't know if you know the answer. I should have asked.
I don't, I have no
Should
idea.
have asked the guy
Some
yesterday.
engineer sitting at a desk somewhere thought that it needed to be fixed.
I didn't think of it yesterday when I was talking to that guy, is why are they all, I mean, they're literally wrapped into people's driveways, which is just infuriating people.
Yes,
I'm talking 10 feet into people's driveways.
yep, they did.
Up our way. They
You're not the only person to call me about it. either.
104A, they did the same thing up our way. They came through and made guardrails twice as long as what they were before, put them in places we never saw them before.
Yeah,
The one at the Old State Road intersection of 104A, the one that, I mean, what did that last? 2 months before somebody took it out?
Been better off letting it go.
but they're wrapping into people's driveways.
Yeah, I can't answer that. It's the state.
One guy's got a tractor trailer, now he's got a guardrail wrapped into his driveway that he has to maneuver around the back.
Had several calls.
It just been that. It's
Yeah,
traffic.
it's, well, I'm curious. I should have asked the guy yesterday. I didn't.
You can ask.
Okay.
But
Snowplow contracts, you got a note that they're going out, so.
They're out and we've actually received some back and
Okay.
things are going quite well this year, I think.
Yeah,
Good.
so we just, there's a couple things with the towns, but that was taken on different emails, but other than that, going on, we have, I want to say 3 signed so far.
Have you heard from the existing District 1, Sterling and Victory?
Give me 1 second, I can tell you.
I don't think so. The couple that come back have been villages, which is good because they're not usually too involved with the talk, so they got right after them this time.
Not important, I can follow up later,
Yeah, I
sorry
can
about
bring
that.
it to you.
They've only been out there for what, 4 or 5 days?
Oh, okay,
So
all right. Give them a couple-
we also had a lively discussion with the guy from DOT about what I pushed for the past 8 years of, if there's 5 town roads here in one county, let the town plow it. If there's 5 county roads over in this area and 1 or 2 town roads, let the county plow it. He thought that was a great idea. I said, yeah, but we can't never get anybody to actually sit down at a table, put out a map and learn how to save
Like-
time,
I'd
fuel.
like to be invited to our conversation we're gonna have with the state because we're currently without a contract.
I'd love to, because,
That'll be the same gentleman that's gonna be sitting at the table with us. So,
oh, it'll be that Mark Wolf,
yes.
because that is just, because we're the ones that get the phone call.
Yep.
6 inches of snow, you're driving down my road with a plow up. Sorry, it's not a county road. That's stupid. Yep, I've been saying that for 8 years. What would you like me to do?
Our contracts are going well though with the towns. I think,
Good.
I think things are good. So,
All right, you want to do your resolutions unless anybody else got anything for Brian?
Kidding me, that was so much fun.
All right, PW1.
PW1 is authorize us to amend our DM parts budget, it's just transferring money from one line to another.
Have a motion?
Move it.
Can I have a second?
Second, Basile.
Any questions or concerns? If not, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, PW2.
PW2 is to create, fill the highway supervisor position. This is a change in position from a working foreman to the highway supervisor title. So 2 things happen when we do that. It becomes a tested position and the requirements are a little bit stiffer for the supervisor versus the foreman.
Have a motion.
Move it.
Can I have a second?
Second, Basile.
Any questions? Trish?
I couldn't tell what the differential is there in the grade or the pay from what I was
It's around
looking at.
$3,000 to the savings right now at starting rates versus what the foreman was getting paid
Okay,
at a higher level of skill.
okay.
So,
And then at the end of the,
at the end. So I don't have that answer for you.
is it a lower grade position then, Brian?
No,
Or is it
it's a,
higher grade, but just the starting salary is lower than what the?
I think it's a comparable grade because but you're going one's union, one's non-union, so you got two different grading systems. So I'd have to actually, I thought it was in the grade fill the salary range, but it doesn't.
And is there somebody currently in, I don't know if I can
It's
vacated.
being, it's, yeah, he's retiring.
Okay,
The working, and we've switched the other ones as we go. We've been waiting for people to retire to switch them out.
okay.
So the 9 you're down now is not counting the ones that are going to be
Correct.
shortly.
Yep.
How many fall in that category?
Right now, just this one here.
Just one.
So that would be a provisional hire then?
Yes.
Civil service.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the test is being offered, coming up here shortly.
So they're both CSEA positions?
No.
Because it says here in the authorization to fill, grade 17, part-time abolished position was included in CSEA.
That's a union position. The new
Right.
position is not bargaining.
The supervisor position, you're replacing it with an out of the,
Correct.
okay.
Anybody else? Not all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, PW 3. Move it. Didn't do anything yet.
I think it's
Moving it for discussion, I believe.
Figure we let him read it first.
Okay, PW 3 is just amending our driveway permit price list on it, so we can keep up with the increases in our pipe and stone.
Now you could do it.
Move it. Second.
All right, any questions? Not all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, PW 4.
PW 4 is just, this is a medium MEO's position. I need a new resolution because we ran out of time to fill it.
Oh, no. Was this from last year then, apparently?
6 months ago,
6 months ago, so it wasn't.
basically the end of the year, December.
Can I have a motion for,
Move it, Basile.
have a second?
Second.
Trish, any questions other than we need to fix that
I think we're
issue?
entertaining that in government ops, Mr. Chair.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carried, PW 5.
PW 5 is the same as PW 4, just a different control number.
All right, can I have a motion for that?
Move it, Basile.
Have a second. Second. Hans, any questions or concerns with PW 5? Not all in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, anything else, Brian?
That's-
Like anything more for Brian?
These two MEOs are part of that 9.
Yes.
All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move it. Second, Basile.
I'm gonna ask for discussion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, I need minutes to approve.
Or second.
A second. Any discussion?
Do you require assistance?
I might, you never know. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried, thank you. We have no appointments. That brings us right up to the 911. Denise Spengler, please.
Good evening. I know the agenda says no updates, but that's not true. So I will give you some updates. I apologize. I was actually on vacation last week. In respect to staffing, we have 2 vacancies. We did get the list from civil service. If you recall, there were 34 people, I think, that signed up and took the test. 9 passed it and 5 are interested in the position as of right now. So we are doing interviews on Thursday morning. And I will follow up after that point, once we decide if we have 2 viable candidates out of that group. We are working on a resolution for the help program that was approved by our local civil service commission. So I'll be bringing a resolution next month to be approved by committee. And then that will go to state civil service. And what that will do is hopefully allow us to hire provisionally off without having to take the test. And then once they've been in the position for a year, if they are successful, they would become permanent. So that's our goal, given the lack of interest in taking the test at this point. In regards to the backup center, I have had some discussions with Gary and Shireen in respect to the renovations and updates to the backup center. One of the things that I suggested, but obviously we'll support whatever decision is made. But if we're gonna have a brand new backup center, it really does make sense for it to be our primary center. I don't know that I could in good conscience have a brand new center down here and have them operating in the primary center. We need to do renovations to our backup center anyways, because we don't have enough seats down here when we have to come down here. And there really are times where we have to come down here. We have a radio upgrade coming up at the end of August that they're probably gonna have to come down here. And I end up having to pull staff off of the schedule, which shorts our floor because we just don't have enough room in the backup center. So one of the plans for the renovations are to increase the number of workstations down here, which we need to do. One of the things that I hear at the primary center is we don't have enough room out there either. We've kind of outgrown the space. It's been there since 2000. A lot has changed. Our operations have changed. When we're training, people just don't have seats. We certainly make do with what we have, but it's tight. So that is something I really would like everyone to think about, moving forward if this does go through and we do make those renovations.
Denise, where are you making renovations? You're losing me.
So that's, I haven't been involved in any of that, really.
You're talking about bringing staff into this new build, this
Yes.
potentially new
Correct.
county office building.
Yes, that's correct. And
As
that
a
would become our
primary
backup
site.
center.
But has that even been planned for? Or-
So that's just been the discussion of the renovations. Because the backup center would get renovated as part of the updates
Backup center that's currently in the sheriff's.
that's currently here.
Oh, the backup center is here, but you only use it when you're not at your primary site.
That's correct.
But you want your primary site, consideration to have your primary site be here.
Right, because if we're going to renovate this center, it makes sense to make it our primary center.
But you're not sure if it's being planned for that way.
Correct.
I think that would be a question for somebody that sits on the building committee. Is there? Nope. Is there somebody here? Shireen, do you sit on the building?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Do you sit on the building, the upgrade to the building
Yes.
committee?
Actually, Gary and I have been working on the space
Okay,
allocations for the renovations of the building. And the conversations that we were asked to have with departments pertains to the space needs versus wants.
Okay,
So the building committee discussion, Jim, you're on the committee as well. Feel free to speak. Heidi is on the committee as well, as received updates as well as Aileen. So basically what the committee has looked at is renovations of the current space, which for 911 is the backup center only. What Denise is talking about is her suggestion and her conversation that she's had with the renovations occurring with the current building. The suggestion being that the main department for 911 be moved to the COB instead of just renovating it for the backup center. Anyone correct me if I'm wrong? So that's the consensus, is to leave the main department of 911 at the PSV, Public Safety Building, and just renovate the backup center. That's what she's,
currently being planned for.
that is correct.
so Denise, you'd want that changed around, correct? The way I understand it?
That's correct, because to me, I guess, because I'm not involved in those meetings, I don't know really what the discussions are. But if we're going to invest in renovating and redoing this backup center, it makes sense for it to be our primary center. Because we essentially have to have new consoles, we have to have new workstations. So to me, it would make sense to make it our primary.
I think
It's something to think about.
yourself, myself, and the committee, the building renovation committee needs to make an appointment that we sit down with them and, you know, have that discussion so that we're all on the same page. If that's all right with you.
But
Shereen?
actually, we have a projected meeting date scheduled for the building committee. I can add that on as an agenda item.
You have a
And then
date?
we can go forward, not confirmed,
Okay,
but we can put that on as a discussion item and.
definitely make sure that Denise gets copied on that and me also, please.
Yes,
That, for that time and date, please.
But it's unclear, the whole, whether we're doing an addition, whether we're just,
right.
you're trying to
There's a lot of
evaluate.
unknowns. There really is. That's why.
Sorry, say, hey, Lee, go ahead.
There are a lot of things that they're trying to work out space-wise. So I'm just suggesting that maybe we put it on the agenda as a discussion item and then move forward from there, if that's okay.
Thank you. Jim?
Yeah, Chairman, I would recommend that you have a meeting before that meeting to talk about this specific space, because this is a request that seems to be a major change. So I'm sure.
Definitely can do that. Denise, are you available
Just to
sometime?
focus on that space, because it sounds like it's gonna be, from what I'm hearing today, it sounds like it's gonna be space that's down there is not gonna be sufficient,
It's not sufficient. No, because the equipment is not
and so
in,
forth.
it's not
Probably
in
might
air
wanna
conditioned
have
rooms.
just a little, because of Denise being out of the building, at no fault of her own, she's over at the others, not involved in this discussion. Might give her some time to talk about what her thoughts are and see if it makes sense or not. I mean, it might not to some people, it does to you, but it.
I can't
may
see
or may
investing
not.
in something and not using it. I think
I-
that's,
Actually, Denise, or Shereen, I'd like to make one other change. If you would include Riley into that email chain also, if we're gonna have that discussion about the 911 center
Okay.
renovations, if that's okay. Thank you.
oh, you can help me, right?
Sure.
Was it, Riley's moving out, right?
I don't know, been kicked to the curb too, so we don't know.
He's got a whole new complex.
I know.
That's not
As
including.
long as he doesn't give any presentations tonight, we're good.
I have none.
That's good.
Anything else for Denise? Got anything else? I
The
don't-
only other thing I have is one of the projects I've talked about is the paging infrastructure. That is a project that we really need to look at tackling. I have a couple of sole source requests into the state to use up some grant funding. Part of that funding does have to be spent this fiscal year. I have about 505,000 that we use towards that project of 849,000. So we need to come up with a plan for the other 343,000 for that project.
I have the guy.
That's a different project.
This is a different one than,
That's the addition of sites for the southern end.
okay.
That's another project. This is the paging,
Oh, the paging.
because the equipment is no longer manufactured, no longer serviceable. So all of our surrounding counties are in the same boat as we are. So it's a project we need to put on the radar, whether we use that money this year out of contingency or we budget that 343,000 for next year. But the 240,000 that I have out of a seat grant this year, I'm reallocating it to this project because it is a priority. So we could spend that money, the purchase out of the way. And then next year, in the beginning of the year, finish the purchase of the rest of the project. We can't implement any of it until it's all paid for because it all has to be done at once because it's every single site. So hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's a project that we have to tackle.
Next month,
I mean, we can tackle it next month, absolutely.
sooner the better.
And that's all I have.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything for Denise? No, for here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the list is assigned counsel. I think we have Mr. John Price this evening, but before he gets going, Shereen, do you want to introduce your guest?
Sure.
At that juncture?
I just wanted to introduce Charles Leduc, Zink, he likes to be called. He's the new staff DWI coordinator for Cayuga County.
Have him stand up.
Really excited, aren't you? Come on.
I get that.
So I just wanted to introduce you. Please reach out to him if you'd like to speak with him or if you have any questions or see what Stop DWI is all about. I know he's going to be touching base with you, Chairman Strong, about some reporting for
Sure.
the committee and some of the things that he will be involved with. So
Charles, welcome.
Thank you. Let me shake your hand. We spoke over the phone. So just, man, man,
Put faces to the names.
nice to see you.
Nice to meet you, sir.
I'm a little overwhelmed right now with this particular position as much as it is throughout the state. And we do have the lady that's the head of the whole thing there, this Anini, Pam Anini on the Horseheads. And I spoke with her over the phone. And I've never been involved with government bureaucracy before, and or protocols and budgets and accounting and reaching out to law enforcement, which is always a pleasure. But I find that part exciting because it's new and we're lifelong learners if we want to stay alive as long as I have. So in any event, bear with me, Mark. It's going to be a long road. Be patient. I'll get it done. And I'm going to be asking an awful lot of this lady right here to walk me through a lot of things because it's all new to me. All right. Being an educator, I found it to be exciting. When I first started out, I was a middle school teacher, and eventually you become one of them. Middle school. But in any event, it was a great career that I had, and I'm looking forward. I've met so many wonderful people in the county in various positions, and they're very, very supportive. It's very nice to see positive things going on. And thank you for welcoming me.
All right, sir.
No.
Well, welcome.
No
And-
offense, but I question your sanity. You enjoy bureaucracy. I
I'll get that.
mean, say,
Well, today's day one of many to come. So, welcome. All right, Mr. John Price.
Good evening. I think you all have our report. Not much to add on that. Should be in there. Last week it was 79 arraignments, the centralized arraignment plan, which is up from usual. It's up within this month. In addition to that, last month, the data officer position we had asked for was approved. That has not been filled yet. We're still working on that. But no major developments. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, John, I got one question for you, because and you may not have the answer to this, but I see of the 79 arraignments, nearly 50% of them were brought in on warrants. So how many of those were just released right back out?
Failure to appear.
I think we have, actually don't have the report in front of me, but we have in there how many were released on their own recognizance versus held. I want to say In total of everybody brought in, I want to say 49%.
Isn't that kind of the world we're living in here with warrants? Are almost a waste of time for law enforcement because you spend the time to find the person and then they're just let back out with another here, come to court, but they don't. Just saying, I mean.
More emotion. No, just me? Okay.
Well, yeah, and bench warrants do take up a good chunk of what people are called in, what attorneys are called in for CAP, so.
All right. Anything else for us, John?
Nothing for me.
Crime is turned into a money pit.
Yeah, well, at $158 an hour, why not? So next up would be the coroner. I don't see him on the computer, so he has no updates. Next up, District Attorney Brittany Antonacci, please.
Good evening, everyone. To answer your question on warrants, about 50% of them do get released back automatically. They're mostly misdemeanor warrants. The other 50% are being held up because they're willful and persistent failures to appear, meaning that they failed to appear 3 separate times, meaning that CAP has seen them 3 separate times before they're actually held. So that's the law under New York State. So that's why you're seeing so many warrants. It's somewhat of a revolving door at CAP. Our county, well, to update you on staffing, we still have 1 attorney vacancy due to a retirement. We did interview 3 people in June. We did not get them. We lost them to other counties and the AG's office due to salary. I'm hoping that'll change going forward. We did just do a recent interview, so I'm expecting a response in the next couple of weeks from that individual. Our county was selected to be part of the Gun Involved Violence Elimination Act grant through New York State, through DCJS. So we are one of 3 new additional counties, which, you know, in my opinion, it's great to have that funding. Our county is receiving, well, county and local area, including the Auburn Police Department, is receiving a little bit over $370,000. So that's going to be allocated between the Auburn Police Department, Cayuga County Probation, the Sheriff's Office, and the District Attorney's Office. So I did lay out some of those numbers in our report, how that is being divided up. Part of the funding for our office will have to go, and this will be a resolution coming up in the next couple of months, but we'll have to go to a program coordinator. It's part of the grant. We thankfully have a program coordinator in our office who handles the crimes against revenue, the CARP grant. So he's part-time currently, but he actually handled the GIVE grant for Onondaga County District Attorney's Office. So he is the one that drafted that grant application for us and submitted it to DCJS. He's going to be required to do monthly meetings. That's a requirement of the grant as well. And he will be the kind of the middleman, the contact for probation, sheriff's office, APD, and my office as well. So he'll be running that, coordinating. He's already been actively involved coordinating with the sheriff's office, Auburn Police, and probation. So that'll be forthcoming in the future for him as well. And then it's also going to put a significant increase on our stenographer, because part of our requirements is going to be expediting the indictments of violent felony offenders. So that's going to be part of our role. So we will be expediting grand jury presentations. So once someone is arrested on a violent felony, we should be indicting them within a week or 2. So that is going to be our goal going forward. I was actually the GIVE prosecutor when I worked in Albany County. So I'm very familiar with how this program works for our office. And I'll be training the prosecutor that's going to be taking over the gun cases and a lot of the violent felony offenses. Our county, I think, was selected because most larger counties are selected because of the gun violence. Our county doesn't have that level of gun violence. We simply don't. So DCJS, I think, chose us, and I don't want to misspeak, but because we do have a high level of domestic violence, and they are including domestic violence assaults, criminal contempts, and robberies, burglaries. So those are going to be something that our assistant DAs are going to be reporting, and law enforcement are going to be reporting on going forward. So it's called the Gun Involved Violence Elimination Act, but it's really our county is going to be focused more on violent crime because we don't have that level of gun violence.
Can I ask a question, Mark?
Yes, ma'am.
The expedited within a week, what you talked about, the applies to the domestic violence cases as well?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So I'm actually going to be splitting this, a portion of the funding to my office is going to be split for salaries for 3 separate assistant DAs. So a portion will be an ADA who's handling gun cases, drug cases, and other violent crime, robberies, burglaries, assaults. And then our domestic violence prosecutor is going to be part of that as well, and she's going to be reporting her time. And then we're going to have a third assistant DA. So each is going to have a percentage of their time has to be allocated to this grant.
So these will be the same current staff, just the whatever portion of the time they're spending on these deliverables, you're going to voucher to the
Yes.
state to get that money.
Correct. Yes, we have to report to justify the money coming in from
Yep.
DCJS. Yes,
And
just like we would with several other of our other grants that we have.
Small question for someone who doesn't know legalese. When someone commits criminal contempt, what are they actually doing?
So they are violating a court-ordered protection. So that's pretty, it can involve violence. It doesn't have to. So only a portion of criminal contempts do involve some type of violence against the protected party. I do have one resolution, and it is simply just, I'm asking the legislature for approval to accept the funding through the GIVE grant. And that would be in the amount of $110,854 that will be allocated to our office through that grant program.
And you have to make an
amendment.
An amendment to that. And I
Yes,
have-
yes, Lynn Marinelli did reach out to our office to give us the correct revenue account number. So I would ask that that be amended to A11650-43390 GIVE grant is what she informed us is the appropriate revenue count.
Okay, I have a motion to
Second
change.
for discussion.
I have a second for discussion. Go ahead.
I don't have one. I thought Beatrice had his hand.
Oh, I just gotta, is it DCJS or DOCCS? That's the,
It's DCJS.
all right, so I'm good, right? Can I vote on this? Thank you.
That was your question.
That's everything.
I
Thank you.
know how important it is. Okay, so I have a motion and a second to amend JP one
To what she said.
to what she said. So I have that.
I'll move.
Any other
I'll
discussion?
move the resolution is amended.
We've got to vote on it first.
Oh,
That's
okay.
right.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carried.
Now I'll move the resolution is amended.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to move it as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. Anything else for the district attorney?
Just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
See if I can thread the needle on this one. You mentioned, probation. You'll be working with other supervision agencies to monitor and, because I think that'll be a fruitful.
Yes, we will be working, we will be working together with the sheriff's office, Auburn Police, as well as the probation department. And that's why that program coordinator will come in because he has to put on the monthly meetings.
What about,
We'll also be working with parole as well. They're not part of the grant. They're not going to receive any funding because they are a state agency, but they have come to our meetings so far.
very good, thank you.
Yes,
All right, anything else? Thank you.
thank you.
Next up would be Emergency Management Office, Emergency Services, Riley Shirt.
Not here.
He quit. Tired.
I already had a presentation. I don't know. You want me to?
I can come up with something.
Well, you gave me that PowerPoint. I mean, I can fire that.
I can
bad
do
boy
some
up.
extemporaneous speaking. to make this happen.
Andy loves it.
My report's in front of you. I have nothing additional to add other than just publicly acknowledging the efforts that went into the fireworks detail at Emerson Park. Big shout out to Doug Delastrito, but also Jeremy Vavone from Owasco Fire Department, Scott Kehoe from Fleming, as well as my deputy coordinators, Jason Green and Dave Newer. We had one injury the entire evening, and that was a 16-year-old with a laceration from a fall. That was a sign off. So if that's all we have with a few thousand people and the weather stayed south in Fleming, it's a great time.
Okay. believe you have one resolution,
I
right?
have one resolution in front of you that is asking for permission to fill 2 budgeted vacancies. Those are 2 additional part-time deputy fire coordinators and 1 part-time deputy fire and EMS coordinator. They are budgeted.
I have a motion. I need a second. I have a second. Any discussion?
This is part of what's being talked about, government ops.
Yeah, we're trying to hornswoggle that tomorrow. Any other discussion on JP 2? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is probation. I see Jay.
Hey, Mark, before you start.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I want to take a second because I attended the fireworks, obviously from Wasco, but I also had some folks from out of town. All the deputies were the nicest, most welcoming, kind people. Like, you know, I know these guests went all through the park and all walked back to the homes they were renting and staying at. But they were so good. So I just want to tell you guys, it was just so nice and, you know, managed chaos, and it was just really great. So I was so proud to say that, you know.
Of course, the people they all wrote tickets to afterwards driving away, they
That's
weren't so
okay.
happy.
Fine. Good job, guys.
All right, probation, JD Westflair, you're up, sir.
Good evening, everyone. To pick up where the DA left off, probation also has a resolution in front of the body tonight to accept funding related to the GIVE grant. Probation has a fairly extensive piece in the GIVE program. We will be doing a focused high-risk caseload for the offenders that the DA will be prosecuting. These individuals will need to be at greatest risk or high-risk supervision for potentially a year. They will all need to have GPS-enabled electronic monitoring, and they will need to be screened ahead of their sentencing by an enhanced, updated format of a pre-sentence investigation. So in order to do this, coming forward in August, assuming that the body will approve accepting these funds, we will be seeking permission to fill or create and fill a new probation officer position dedicated to the GIVE grant. Their only duties under the grant will be supervising these cases, cooperating with our partner agencies, and preparing the enhanced pre-sentence investigations. So that's kind of the GIVE in a nutshell for probation. And I would be happy to answer any questions related to the grant as they may pertain to probation.
Anybody have any questions? The resolution is JP8 for those who are inquiring.
So I'll move it for discussion.
I have a motion on JP8. I need a second. Second for discussion. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Is there a time frame for this grant? Is this a 3-year grant, an annual grant, renewable each year? How does it work?
I can.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's going to be a renewable grant. It's every year. So it's July 1st to July 1st. So July 2023 to July 2024. We have to reapply every year. But the GIVE agencies, jurisdictions who have been receiving it for over a decade. So once you're kind of grandfathered in, you'll continue to receive it.
Great. Good.
Is that the same for you also, Jay?
Yes, GIVE has been around for 10 years. It's been a very stable program. The governor's office recently doubled funding available for GIVE. So I have faith and confidence that this this funding stream is going to stay in place for a while.
Okay, anybody else have any discussion about JP8? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Anybody have anything for Jay? Okay, thank you. Oh, wait a minute.
Again, Jay, I see your note about John Madden.
Nice.
So congratulations to him. Full disclosure, he's a relative.
Is he?
So I'm very excited for John.
He's a former Cayuga counseling graduate as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I'll be happy to pass that along to John. It's very well deserved. John has been a very solid member of our department for his entire career. This is actually the second time we have applied for him to be recognized, and I was very happy to see the state acknowledge him this year. He will be going to Syracuse later this month to be recognized at the annual Probation Officers Association conference in person. I think this is also a very nice thing for the department to have DCJS recognize the good work that our officers in Cayuga County do.
Well, if you would, sir, from the committee and the county, please pass along our congratulations and well deserved.
I'll be happy to do that. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else have anything for Jay? See none. Thank you, Jay.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Next up would be the sheriff. Brian?
Good evening. In regards to my report, I noted with a couple of paragraphs there that I was going to be discussing them a little bit further here at the meeting, and we're having some real challenges meeting the needs. Some of our state mandates that we've recently received in the last few years, and with the increase in warrants, it is a revolving door that we're seeing, and then there's a lot of things that are causing us to, we've kind of reached our max and what we can do, and we're kind of at a tipping point. So I don't know how far you want to get into the weeds with that this evening, but I would like to come with a presentation, unless Riley has one that same night. But I'd like to come with a
today.
with a presentation sometime in the next month or two.
Which side of the house, jail or both?
Jail and patrol.
Okay.
And I can talk a little bit about both, but I want to bring you some information, kind of get into the weeds a little bit of, as to why we're seeing the increased need for some staffing resources. That's a difficult thing to come here and ask for additional people and resources, given the challenges we're going to have with our budget that I know that we're going to have this year. But we're seeing some really serious public safety challenges that are impacting our ability to provide public safety services out there, and certainly to be proactive, but we're barely keeping our heads above water to do the minimum at this point. And it concerns me a little bit that we're having some difficulties, being proactive out there and being available for, additional calls as they come. And Legislator Basile and I have been working with, some issues in the village of Fairhaven, and we're not giving that as much time up there as we really should be. When people call for law enforcement, or they have a law enforcement issue, they expect some type of law enforcement response. Simple things such as a traffic issue on their street or a major emergency. But all of those things are important to the people that we serve, and we're having some real difficulties meeting the needs. It's a lot different than it was 10 years ago. And I'd like to just bring you some information, bring you a presentation, talk a little bit about the challenges we're having, because I will be looking for some additional staff in some different areas moving into the budget. And I also have a critical need in the jail and our medical division that maybe even beforehand, but I just wanted to kind of prepare you for that. And if you have any questions, if you want to talk about any of that tonight, I'm certainly willing to do that, but I don't know how far into that you want to get.
I just did, if I could, one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it the case where you're potentially adding staff, but you have these vacancies that you can't fill?
So,
I mean, that seems kind of counterintuitive. I mean.
So we're going to need to add staff in our medical division within the jail, which we can fill. We do have challenges with our custody staffing issues still. That will be a concern.
Because you have how many vacancies now?
We have 8. I'm not going to come to you and ask to increase the size of that division until, or if we get those filled and we still need them.
That's what.
But the road patrol division, we're facing some pretty serious challenges, and certainly with our medical division within the jail. So those are some of the things that I want to discuss with you.
In road patrol, you don't have significant vacancies at this time. You just have a need for additional men.
We do, with the additional workload for a number of reasons that I want to bring and present to you so you can see why we're having those challenges. I'm not going to just come to you and tell you I need more people if we don't legitimately need those, but I'd like you to see why we need them and what we're seeing.
Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just a couple quick things to illustrate my point through questions. How many officers do you have on for the entire county on the road patrol side at one time?
So typically it's three deputies, maybe 4 deputies and 1 supervisor at any given time.
75 miles from north to south.
Yeah.
And then Also, I would just ask, when you're referring to the medical, is that something that could jeopardize it's not DCJS, it's corrections certification? Is that, because I know there's requirements that you must maintain in
So
order
the
to.
State Commission of Corrections oversees our jail and our, certainly our medical division. They've been in, they've done some inspections, they've made some recommendations, which I can speak to if I'm able to present.
No, I just was sort of like trying to maybe kind of a little teaser.
Sure. One of the biggest challenges is the medication assisted treatment program. We did add an LPN position, as you all probably recall, with the $100,000 that the state gave the county to implement that program. That was to pay for medications and any positions. We have 38 individuals on MAT right now. An additional 6 will soon be added. And we have 3 that are waiting to be evaluated. So I think we're going to end up seeing about half of our population on MAT at some point, and the one LPN is not going to cut it. And as you all realize, there's a huge amount of liability in that area within our jail. So we have to stay on top of that and make sure that we're providing enough staff to meet the need. And we're just seeing a huge increase in the medical needs of that population. I think I've spoke to that quite a few times. We've got a lot of sick people that are coming into our facility, and that's creating a lot of transports to hospitals, medical facilities, and that's why we're tying road patrol members up because we don't have enough corrections officers to address that. So even if we are full staff within the jail, that would still be a challenge that we would have to figure out. So there's some challenges we have moving ahead. Certainly, and I understand the budget's going to be challenging, but a lot of things have changed. The state's made some mandates and requirements and changed, some law enforcement rules and regulations, and certainly changed laws that are impacting the way we do business. And it's a little bit overwhelming, and we're going to have to address that.
So my question was similar to Chris's, because I've been asked this and I didn't have the answer for people. So we have 4 to 5 people on patrol for every shift. Is that correct? How many people, because I know there's also people still back, I'll say at the office, that can come out for certain things. Or, I remember that from a ride along that I did where that bad crash, more people came out.
Sure. During the week, Monday through Friday, we do have our investigators that are in the building, as well as we have folks that are involved with pistol permit amendments, issuing pistol permits. They're in the building Monday through Friday.
Is that so-called ID officer?
Yeah, ID officer. And then we do have an additional sergeant that oversees our special patrol officers and our civil division, who's on Monday through Friday. So Monday through Friday during the day, we have some extra folks on, but evenings and overnights, typically 3 to 4, sometimes 5 with the sergeant. Folks are on each 8-hour shift.
And Jim?
Yeah, so, and I'm going to speak to this again. The village of Fairhaven and up in our district, we had about 2 years ago contracted with separately and independently from what the county is already doing to try to get some extra patrols up in our area. I went on one ride a couple of years ago, and we never got south of Weedsport. And I did a Saturday night, very active night. So when things happen up in the north end, we thought we would contract with the sheriff's department, and sheriff and I had an agreement, and we, they already have the regular schedule. And like I said, I'm going to speak to this again. They have their overtime that they're kind of, I don't want to say forced, but maybe are forced to cover. Someone calls it sick, someone's on vacation. So our contract was, what it says is voluntary overtime. And in 6 months, we got 0 hits because they're already stretched then. And so for my district, District 1, the old District 1, soon to be the new District 1, I'm not too familiar with what happens in Ira, but the residents are,
We don't have crime.
yeah, well, we unfortunately, I hate to say do, because of the activity in the village. And it was present by our public safety meeting that we had 2 weeks ago, where we had almost 200 people there. You know, they're, you know, so we are going to try it again. But under the circumstances, my expectations are not high, not because I don't think the sheriff's department's supporting us, but just because of the situation. And some of the folks that they take down from our district are back up there before the patrol officers can finish their paperwork. I don't know what the hell kind of system we put together, but I'll tell you what, it's not working. It's not working.
And we talked a little bit about the potential of the contract from time again, but I told Legislator Basile that we just don't have the staff that are going to be stepping up to do it because they're burned out now.
Yeah.
We'll be lucky to get anybody to sign up for it, but we're trying to cover navigation shifts with some of our patrol folks because we don't have a good pool of part-timers. They're just not out there. But that's not to mention, one of the things we're really struggling with right now is the raise the age laws. 16 and 17-year-olds can no longer be held in our jail. We're transporting them all over the state for secure and non-secure housing. We're literally driving a 16 or 17-year-old to New York City to stay a couple nights, driving back, picking them up for a court appearance and taking them back because there's no local beds. And these are just things that have impacted, the work that we do. So we can have 2 patrol deputies that are tied up going to New York City and back multiple times in the 2-week period. These are the things that they're not going away. They're here to stay. So we've got to address that somehow because, I want to make sure we've got cars on patrol in our post within Cayuga County that can answer emergencies. I don't want somebody calling, because they really need help and we don't have the resources out there because that's our job to provide those resources for our community.
Chris, I think you have.
I just wanted to compliment you because the word on the street is you're taking a very proactive approach on this and invited some dignitaries perhaps out to your office yesterday. And perhaps they might be able to assist in putting the bill, maybe giving us some grants or something.
Yeah. I think all of our, political leaders, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, we have got to start partnering on these issues because we can do a lot better. But unfortunately, politics has dictated where we are today, and it's created the need for us to add law enforcement resources, and it costs money. So I don't see that changing anytime soon, and it's unfortunate. But I've got to bring you a budget proposal this year that's going to be, looking to add positions and significantly increase my budget, which I don't want to do. But my job is to provide public safety services. That's what I'm elected to do. And, I think that's our priority here as legislative leaders to do that. But I would like to just present you some facts and figures. I don't want you just taking my word for it, but I want to show you why we're in this boat that we're in, how much time we're spending in each area and let you make that decision. But I'm just, letting you know that I'm going to have to come looking for some additional staff for these reasons moving forward.
Well, I think the reality is anybody with common sense knows why we're in this. It's just whether the political part, like you said, continues.
It has to give our leaders have to be willing to change.
Okay, I just make one final comment and then we'll get into Brian's resolutions. I speak with Brian 3-4 times a week on the phone. I hear nothing but good comments about, the conduct of the officers out in the street. As everybody knows, I'm a fireman. I have a fire radio in my possession that I do hear a lot of what goes on in the law enforcement end of the thing, and they are busy, very busy. And I guarantee you, these people aren't sitting in the parking lots trying to figure out what's the latest word on the crossword puzzle. That is not happening. I assure you of that. And it has been my observance since I've sat as chairman of this committee that we do have support on both sides of the fence. I'm very happy to have that. And hopefully, Brian, you'll be able to provide us with a report next month, a presentation, and we'll look forward to it.
And I hope I have that opportunity. I'm not sure if the appropriate place will be here or if you'll want that at a full.
Let me know what you
legislative meeting,
need. I'll see that it gets that done, sir.
but I'll speak to you about that and we'll determine where we'll give that report.
All right, very good.
Did you hear that, Riley? Next month. Nothing
Okay,
nothing from you next month.
let's go right ahead and get into Brian's resolutions. JP3, sir.
Authorizing to fill one vacant deputy sheriff's position.
Move it.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Video.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. JP4, sir.
JP4 is authorizing us to accept the grant funding for our portion of that initiative. And I will note you'll notice our number is quite a bit lower than the other departments. I was realistic. We don't have the people to put out there on overtime to put a lot of effort into this. So I'm being realistic about the amount that I think we may be able to spend. So just want to note that.
Need a motion?
Move it.
Second.
I'll second.
Any discussion on JP4?
I was curious, what's your obligation for these funds? To do more policing around this issue or?
Proactive patrol will be partnering with AP and the probation department to actually be out in the field proactively patrolling and working on the initiative to, curb violent behavior.
Where you think that will be occurring, there'll be additional.
There'll be specific areas that are targeted and identified, through history.
Any other discussion on JP4? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. JP5.
JP5, I've worked with Tom Bond regarding this. We're looking to purchase the software platform Safer Watch to be able to utilize an app that everybody in our community can put on their phone. This will allow us as a county and as a sheriff's office to push information out to people. It will allow us to collect information, tips and information. I believe that Tom would like to utilize this platform and he'll have to speak to that in his committee. I should have probably asked him to come tonight, but he will be able to utilize that platform to send information out to county employees, like notifications about building closures or different things. So you can set different platforms up within it. So I can use it to push information out about crimes. The county can use it to push information out to employees. Different departments could use it to push, separate notifications or information out for whatever reason they might have, maybe the health department or mental health. But Tom could speak better as to the capabilities of that app. But I've been looking for something for some time that would allow us to collect tips and information. What really brought this to light was our threat assessment and management team. We're working with our school districts to identify threatening behavior and address it before it turns into something violent. We need an app and the ability for people to report tips and potential violent behavior that people are seeing. So this is why we're moving that direction.
I have a motion. I need a second for JP5.
Second.
Any discussion on JP5?
Yes.
Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, again, for District 1, for the rural districts, this could be a tool that helps when they, and I've had this discussion with the sheriff and the residents up in our area, an opportunity where if they start to see an activity that sets a pattern, that they could get on this app and send photos in or send notes in that, hey, the same black truck with no license plate is pulling into this address at 2 a.m., type thing. And that would, if they get enough of those types of things, then it would alert the department, say, hey, wait, there's a commonality here. The black truck's pulling in here in Fairhaven and it's pulling in Victory. At this, it could link those types of things. So I would ask that that we find funding, or is he's going to look to the phone allowance to try this. If it doesn't work, we can always let it go.
Any other discussion?
Will you be purchasing this and all the departments can use it? ID, can you talk about, or this is specific to?
Tom will have to speak to the overall capability.
Okay.
I do understand that we would be able to use it and he would be able to use it to make notifications to employees and that type of thing from here in the building. I can't speak to how many additional departments could use it at the same time. This This,
It's really law enforcement and IT.
yeah, it may go beyond that. I think Tom would have to speak to that. I can't speak to the capability of that further, so.
Any other discussion on JP five? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carry. JP six, sir.
JP six is just authorizing an adjustment to the salary of the special patrol officer in the Port Byron School District. This would be funded by the school district to raise his salary $1 an hour.
Need a motion, JP six?
Move it.
I need a second.
Second, Nightingale.
Any discussion on JP six?
I know you're in a number of schools, but as the contract comes up for renewal, is this when you're making the salary adjustment or?
This is outside of the contract. We're still in the middle of an active contract, so.
Oh, so this, you're amending this particular one
For the
for all
next
the
school year.
schools?
We are for all of them right now, except for Union Springs, and I'm talking to them to see if they want to amend that. I'd like to see everybody paid the same
Right,
rate with all the schools, but it's really up to the school district because they're reimbursing us.
Gotcha. And I see the 15% administrations in there, which is,
Yeah, so for the weed sport for the next resolution.
So we actually, I mean, when school's out, are these officers working at the sheriff's department or?
Yes and no. However, so we are employing 2 of them. We have, actually, I take that back, 3. 2 are working in our navigation division, so they're working on the boats over the summer. We have 1 that came back and is working part-time at the courthouse as a special patrol officer for the summer, and then he'll go back to the school. So they're working in different capacities.
Okay.
Different divisions.
I was curious because if we're lacking in, patrol officers, but obviously 2 of them are doing patrol, just not on pavement. They're in the water.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Sheriff, but don't the SROs have to be retired officers?
They do in the schools, retired police officers, and then the other SPOs can be retired custody, corrections, probation, parole, or police officers.
distinction being SROs and SPOs, is it?
It's confusing, but there are SPOs that are SROs. It's very
Okay.
confusing. I can explain it to you after.
I thought that was senior parole officer.
We love acronyms.
Yeah.
All right, any other discussion on JP six? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carry. JP seven, sir.
Move it, Petra. Same thing. It's weed sport, right? And they're going from the village deputy to the.
Correct. So the Weed Sport Police Department is no longer going to support having a police officer at the school. So the school has asked us to consider creating the SPO position and hiring somebody to be an SRO in their district. So that's what we're looking to do with this resolution.
And the school funds the whole thing, right?
Fully reimbursed, and this does have the 15% administrative fee within it for our time.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussions?
I've got,
Go ahead.
it's similar to this, so that's why I'm gonna ask, because you brought up Weed Sport Police Department. I mean, how many people do they have?
Full-time employees?
Yes.
0. Right? 0 or full-time at weed sport, correct?
No full-time employees, they're all part-time.
Those police officers are part-time?
They usually work at like Auburn or Sheriff's Department.
That's what I was trying, okay.
Bravy's the same way.
That's what I was wondering, if there was any way to combine some of these small towns that have police to make the county.
Most of the part-time officers are working full-time for another agency within the county, so.
Okay, that's what I was wondering,
Why there's no overtime.
because I always thought it was kind of unique to, you know. You only go so far, you gotta turn the car around. 'Cause you-
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
oops, at the town limit.
yeah. All right, hearing, any other discussion on JP seven? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Anybody have anything else for the sheriff? Brian, you have anything else?
Good, thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
We did probation, right?
Yeah,
No?
I'll second that one.
did them in the order of. Dave was on.
Yeah, Jay,
Thanks, Riley.
my thing all the time. All in favor?
Aye.
Adjournment?